What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's me, your boy Millsy, and today we're playing Delta Force, which is a new game. Well, it's been kind of, they've had like the alphas before now, but they just kind of had the open beta drop, I think on December 5th. And I wanted to hop in, I wanted to check it out because I'm a big fan of Battlefield, and it seems to be very much like a very similar game. And we'll speak a little bit more on that later. But yeah, I just wanted to hop in. There's no specific gameplay. It's just going to be clips kind of playing in the background while I'm talking and ranting. And yeah, so I just wanted to do kind of like a pros and cons type of thing, like if you should play it right now or not. The main thing is obviously is it's a new game and it's out. It's for free. So like I don't see any harm in trying to play the game and seeing how you like it yourself. So if I have any sort of criticisms or anything like that, I think the game is mostly good, to be fair. But any criticisms I sort of have, just kind of like take with a grain of salt. They're just my opinions. Play the game for yourself, see how you like it. But what I want to do is I'll start off kind of with some of the pros. I kind of have a little list here and I'll go over them. So I think the main good thing about this game is that it's kind of like a competitor to Battlefield, like a direct competitor. Because Battlefield, people try to compare Battlefield and Call of Duty, but they're not really the same type of thing. You're talking about apples and oranges there. Call of Duty is kind of more, you know, close maps, like quick engagements and stuff like that. And Battlefield is more of just like a sandbox war simulator kind of, you know, with a kind of like an arcadey aspect to it that's like fun and it's not like super serious like some of the other like actual war sim games. And so I think Delta Force being in the mix now kind of has a little bit of the effect for Battlefield now that, or to DICE, you know, like, hey, there's somebody else. There's another competitor right now that could be potentially taking players away from their game. And so I think that drives kind of, you know, creativity. It drives them, instead of just being complacent and saying, oh, well, they're just going to play Battlefield because there's no other options. Now there's Delta Force, and it's shaping up to be a pretty good competitor for Battlefield. And I think that's going to be a good thing for the progress of both of the games. It's not like a one-sided thing. I think Battlefield is they kind of learned their lessons from the last game, and I think they're going to implement that. But that was kind of like before Delta Force actually kind of came out. So now that Delta Force is out, they're going to kind of see like, okay, we're losing players to Delta Force, and they're going to kind of see the ebb and flow of the player counts and stuff like that, and who's feeling what. And it'll drive growth, it'll drive competition, it'll drive good game play being made, I think. I think that it can only be a good thing having another thing in the mix. I'd say another pro for the game right now is that it has a mostly good feel. Like it feels good to play, it feels good to get kills. It feels good to work with teammates. Everything's, you know, simple. There's nothing really super complex. Except for maybe the loadout customizer. We'll get to that a little later. But yeah, I think the game has a good feel, and I think that's really important for a game, because you know if your game doesn't feel great, people are not gonna really want to play it. So I think that's a good, like one of the pros. Another pro that I think this game has, and this is kind of if it's your cup of tea type of thing, like most of the people that complained about Battlefield 2042 didn't like the fact that there's operators, but this game chose to go down that route. So they have the operators, and they kind of, you know, I think in my opinion that they're better in the sense that like their skills and their abilities I think are kind of cooler and more fun to use than in Battlefields. It kind of makes Battlefield's operators, like their unique abilities, kind of seem a little dull compared to this game. This game has a lot more like fun, cool, unique abilities. I think that's definitely a pro. If that's, like I said, if that's your cup of tea. For me, it's neither here nor there for me. I'm just trying to play a fun game, and they did deliver with that. I mean, the abilities are fun. It's not like Nothing I'm too concerned about. I didn't really mind it in Battlefield. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but just one of those things where it's just not really too big of a concern for me. So yeah, and then there's also just in general the sandbox experience in this game is actually pretty good. There's not too many maps, which I'll talk about in a sec, but there's a good kind of size in kind of scope of the game and the experience in the gun plays and the gunfights, I mean, that you're getting in. It definitely has a good feel when you're traversing the maps, and it doesn't feel boring. You know, it's definitely a good sandbox experience, and I think they delivered on that aspect of it. So another thing I wanted to talk about that I thought was really cool with this game was that the loadout customization, specifically the guns customization, I think it's very, there's no limit to attachments really. There's like, if your gun has the slots for it, you can fill up every single one if you wanted to, and you can have all these really crazy builds, and you can do like calibrations which affects all sorts of different stats, and it's just a really in-depth gun customization option, which is really cool. I think that more games should have that. Specifically even Battlefield, I think there should be kind of a more of a diverse way to set your guns up the way exactly you like it, and doesn't have to be like, you know, so you know, finite. You know, you could have, like, basically in this game there's just so many different possibilities with all the different little things that you can adjust and all this stuff, and maybe I'll make another video kind of showing the whole thing, but right now this is kind of just like a generalization of like what the game has for pros and cons. One of the last things, I'm probably forgetting some things, but one of the last things I wanted to mention too for like something that's a pro would be the teamwork. Like there's definitely a very good like community feel with the game already. Like a lot of people are playing the objective, a lot of people are rezzing you if you die, I'm rezzing them if they die, we're doing the objective like very intensely. Like I haven't had a game yet where it's like, you know, people are just trying to farm kills. Like everybody's trying to play the objective and win the game, which I think is super awesome, you know. I think that is also reflected very well in Battlefield. I think Battlefield has that as well. But a lot of other games that are kind of in this FPS genre, a lot of people are just trying to farm kills and clips and whatever, you know. But in this game, there's a very cohesive element, and I love that. I love to see that in games. It's honestly one of the biggest draws to me for Battlefield, is that cohesion and that team play, where it's not just like you're the lone wolf. Like you have like you have your part to play. I think that's so important and fun in a video game. One of the biggest cons in this game, so we're gonna kind of switch over to the other side of things here. One of the biggest cons I think about this game, for me at least, and other people might feel differently, is the fact that it's basically a Battlefield clone, like 1-to-1 almost, like with a few different tweaks, maybe they have like the operations mode, which is like an extraction mode, which that's also basically just a bite of other extraction modes pretty much to a T. So, which isn't the worst thing. I'm not saying like games can't draw inspiration from each other, but when it's like you're not really innovating anything and you're not changing much, and you're just kind of like, it's a different name for this person, or if it's a different attachment or gun name for this gun, it's just like, yeah, I mean, I get you're not making the same exact game and it's a different game, but it's basically the same exact thing as Battlefield. There's not even all the way down to like the equipment in the vehicles, like it's all just exactly the same, which I'm not a big fan of. Like, other than like I said, the abilities that they have, like the operators that are a little bit more cooler and a little bit more diverse in this game, I think other than that, it's really very, very similar, and something about that just kind of turns me off. And right now, and let me preface this by saying, like, I understand entirely that it's in beta, like it's in an open beta right now, but this is just kind of like a criticism in terms of like maybe this is something they could work on and get better. But the movement feels clunky at times, like very like. It's weird. Sometimes you're traversing the map, everything feels great, but then like you'll come up to a thing where you need to mantle and it just like doesn't work really, or like you try to get into a car, or like just little things like that where it's just kind of like does not feel at all, you know, like great. So, and like I said, I know it's a beta, and I hope that they work on that in the future. Let's see, another thing too that I think this game could balance out a little better is the vehicles. The vehicles are very overpowered right now. They are, especially like the tanks and the, what would be the Ram in Battlefield. I don't exactly know the name for it here, but it's like the Ram. It's exactly like the Ram. And it's just, I was driving in it one day and it's just like, it's hard to kill it, and it's very easy to get kills against people. Like it just doesn't feel super balanced. And yeah, it's like a lock-on time too. If you're like trying to take one out, it just doesn't seem like super quick. But yeah, I think that's something that could use some readjusting, because it does not feel good when there's just like a tank or like a Ram just like posted up that isn't getting shot down, or nobody's shooting it, or people are trying to shoot it and it just like moves, and I don't know. It just doesn't feel great when there's just one just camping. In Battlefield, they kind of move around and like they do their thing and they get shot down really quick and all this other stuff, but like in this game, for some reason, it just doesn't feel good. Like going against vehicles doesn't feel good. Like I think that could be balanced. And another thing right now that I'm not super thrilled with is that there's just a very small map pool. And again, I know it's beta, but it would have been nice to see a little bit more maps kind of thrown in there. I think maybe right now for the game modes I'm playing, there's like 3 or 4 maps that I've seen at least. I mean, maybe there's more, but I just have gotten only like 3 or 4 maps in total. And that's something that's like not super great. And I know that they'll add more in the future. So that's just another thing I wanted to mention. And I'm excited to see what they are going to do with the game. I'm really excited to kind of like see how it's going to play out and what DICE is going to do, because now there's a competitor in the ring. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, that's kind of it. It was just a general video. I wanted to kind of just go over things, you know, what I liked and what I didn't like, really. If you made it to the end, you freaking rock. Thank you. Yeah, you guys know what to do if you like the channel, and you know what to do if you liked the video. And with all that aside, I hope you guys have a good rest of your night.